Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Namami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Friday and Saturday series on Bhakti, Tattva, Viveka by Bhakti Thakur, which is a deliberation on Rupa Goswami's definition of Uttama Bhakti, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadhyanavritam, Anukulena Krishnanu, Sheelanam Bhaktir Uttama. So we will begin with our Mangala Charan recitation given at the beginning by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yugapad rajate bheda bheda vichitrata. Yugapad rajate yasmin bheda bheda vichitrata. Vande tam Krishna Chaitanyam Panchatattvanvitam Swatah. Pranamya Gaurachandrasya Sevakan Shuddha Vaishnavan Bhakti Vivekakyam Shastram Vakshyami Nata Vishwa Vaishnava Dhasyasya Shudrasya Kichanasya Me Etasmin Udyame Hi Ekam Phalam Bhagam Ishama. So we have been discussing in the last and the last to last class after the brief introduction of tasting and preaching bhakti and the harm of false philosophies, Rupa Goswami definition of pure devotion, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is defining. Now, before we go into that of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we went into the definition of pure devotional service by Rupa Goswami from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, along with Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion summary study and Jiva Goswami's commentary and Vishwanath Chakra Thakur commentary, all three commentaries together. So we saw this verse. We will share all the slides to you today, and then up till now what we have discussed, so that you can have the Mangalacharan verses also. So we saw this definition of pure devotional service, and then we went into the Mukhya and Gauna Lakshan, primary and secondary characteristics. Sarupa Lakshan or Tatastha Lakshan, or it is called as intrinsic nature and extrinsic nature. And then we went to Anushilanam, Pravrittatmika and Nivrittatmika, Anu, and then Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam, Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. And then Krishna. Krishna means it includes persons related to Krishna. And it also includes the Tadiya Seva. And then we went into Anukulena. Yesterday we were discussing Anukulena, how it is a descriptive element and it is a necessary qualifier. And Krishna might be pleased, but if it is not performed with an attitude to please Krishna, although Krishna might be pleased, then that doesn't mean it is Anukulena. So yesterday we saw these two extensive and two limiting definitions of Anukulena. And then the objections also we saw, why Anukulena is required and why Anushilam is required. So these were the Sarupa Lakshan of Bhakti. And then we began with the Tatastha Lakshan, Anya Vilashita Shunyam. So what does Anya Vilashita mean? We saw. Other desires means any other desire other than to please Krishna through Bhakti. Any other desire than that only one desire to please Krishna, then only it is Anya Vilashita Shunyam. If we have a desire to perform sadhana bhakti, to attain bhava bhakti, this kind of a desire is within the realm of bhakti. So still we fit in Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. This is the point yesterday I made, and I hope you're able to drive it home. And then what is the difference between Anya Abhilasha Shunyam and Anya Abhilashita Shunyam? Anya Abhilasha means there is no other desire under any circumstances. But in some circumstances, even the pure devotee, due to emergency or a death-threatening situation, might call out Krishna. But still it doesn't disqualify him from being a Uttama Bhakta. So yesterday we saw this, and I hope it is also clear. Deep-rooted as one's nature. So this was the most important point. That's why Rupa Goswami has used Anya Abhilashita and not Anya Abhilash. If he had used Anya Abhilash, then Draupadi would have not been considered a Uttama Bhakta. So this was a difference we saw. Also, we saw that how those who practice bhakti with a desire to attain material opulence, they are not Uttama Bhakta, they are Mishra Bhaktas. And the examples we gave of Dhruva Maharaj and Gajendra. But with the practice of Mishra Bhakti, by the mercy of the Lord, Lord's darshan, their heart gets purified and that Mishran goes away and they become Shuddha Bhakta. But they are not previously practicing Shuddha Bhakti. They practice Mishra Bhakti, but then by the mercy of the Lord of the pure devotee, they become Shuddha Bhaktas. So this was the difference also yesterday we saw. So now we will come to the second Tatastha Lakshan of pure devotional service. The second is Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, uncovered by Jnana, Karma and other processes. It should be uncovered. Avrit means covered. Anavrita means uncovered. Avran means covering. So, or eclipsing, we can say. So this is very important now for us to understand, and let us discuss this last uh, part, which is the secondary characteristic of pure devotional service. What Gyan are you talking about? Gyan refers to knowledge of impersonal Brahman and other such knowledge that can cover one's appreciation of Bhakti. So Gyan here refers to knowledge of impersonal Brahman. This should be rejected, but inquiry concerning the worshipable form of the Lord should not be rejected, for that knowledge is necessary in Bhakti. So Bhakti Sambandhat Gyan is not Gyan Avrit. It is Gyan Anavrit only. But Gyan concerning impersonal Brahman is Gyan Avrit. It will become Avran. Whereas Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan, like we are studying Bhagavad Gita, we are trying to understand this is Gyan, but it is Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan. Bhagavat Gyan it is. So this is Anavrit. Whereas Gyan concerning impersonal Brahman, then there is Avran. Gyan Avran ho jayega. When Gyan Avran happens, then that Bhakti is not Uttama Bhakti. What karma are you talking about? Now, this karma is very important for us and for our understanding, because usually devotees don't pursue impersonal knowledge. But karma, yes, karma has to be very clear for us. So, carefully hear what karma we are talking about, and we will do also some exercise to understand it. The word karma in this verse refers to daily and periodic duties, nitya karma and naimittik karma. Nitya karma are like the Sandhya Vandana and all this, which is given in the part of the Smriti Shastras. And Naimittik are, the periodic duties. But based on certain periods, we perform some duties which are given in the Varnashram. Like, in the Chaturmas Vrata we take, which is there in the Varnashram, enjoined in the Smritis, and not actions of serving the Lord. For serving the Lord is the very definition of Anushilanam of service. So there is karma with respect to the Varnashram duties mentioned in the Smriti Shastras. But directly doing actions in the service of the Lord, that itself is devotional service, or it is Anushilanam. So if we are doing this karma mentioned in the Smriti Shastras, then it becomes karma avrit. But if we are doing actions of serving the Lord, then it is karma anavrit. Karma anavrit. What is the meaning of adi? The word adi refers to such practices as renunciation, yoga, and sankhya. Sometimes devotees can practice too much of vairagya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his other works, mentions it as vairagya prayas. What is it? Vairagya prayas. In the line of bhakti, there has to be endeavor of bhakti prayas. We have to perform devotional service. And the natural byproduct of devotional service is Gyan and Vairagya. Realization of the Bhagwan, that is Gyan here. And Vairagya means natural detachment from the material world. Because of attachment to Krishna. There is attachment to Krishna, there is detachment from matter. But while endeavoring in spiritual life, in bhakti, if you start artificially practicing too much renunciation to detach from this world, then it can become avrit. It can become avrit. So we have to be very careful. We should not practice too much vairagya prayas. Vairagya is the renunciation is the natural byproduct. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. Janeti Ashu Vairagyam. Jnanam Tad Ahetukam. 1 to 7 in the Bhagavatam. So this refers to Vairagya Prayas, Yoga, and Sankhya. These, as well as impersonal gyan and smriti actions. Please remember, smriti actions, karma, which are part of the varnashram given in the smriti shastras, are obstructions to pure bhakti. These are obstructions to pure bhakti. So this is regarding karma, jnana karmadi anavrita. Now, if bhakti has to be devoid of the influence of jnana and karma, why not jnana karma shunyam? Why is it anavritam? Rup Goswami could have used jnana karma shunyam, but he says jnana karma anavritam. Why did he use anavritam and not shunyam? Let us find out. Jnana shunyam would exclude knowledge of scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which are very vital for one's progress in bhakti. If he had used jnana shunyam, then bhakti sambandhit jnana, which we are acquiring, because the more we hear Gita and Bhagavatam, the more our devotion increases. So this knowledge increases our devotion. And the more we perform devotional service, the more the realization of the Lord happens. There is Gyan. So both are symbiotic in nature. So the Gyan, what is being spoken is Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan. And this Gyan is favorable in the execution of devotional service. We don't sit for a Bhagavatam class so that I can become free from the cycle of birth and death. Whereas the Jnanis practice Gyan, impersonal Gyan, because one of their agendas is to become free from the cycle of birth and death. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Among the 20 items of knowledge mentioned in the 13th chapter, 8th to 12th verse in the Bhagavad Gita, because 13 to 18 is Jnana section. So there it is mentioned, they practice these 20 items of knowledge, in that one of the items is to become free from the cycle of birth and death. So there is a hetu for the Jnanis to cultivate that knowledge, Jnana. But we devotees cultivate study of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or we hear to increase devotion. Bhakti leads to bhakti. So that is why if Rup Goswami would have used Jnana Karma Shunyam, then it would have excluded knowledge of the Gita and Bhagavatam scriptures, which is the vital for our progress in bhakti. That's why he has used Anavratam. Karma Shunyam would exclude activities like Archanam and Kirtanam, which are essential limbs of bhakti. So if he had used Karma Shunyam, then Archanam, we are doing deity worship, there is action we are doing with the body. Kirtanam, we are singing, we are dancing. So all these are limbs of bhakti. Then these limbs of bhakti would be excluded if he had used karma shunyam. So that's why he has used jnana karmadi anavritam and not shunyam. Therefore, this definition forbids only those types of jnana and karma that cover avrit bhakti. Therefore, it is anavritam and not shunyam. Can you give me some examples to understand this? For example, if one performs nitya karmas out of fear of sin, it is a covering of bhakti. Now, I perform my nitya karmas like the Sandhya Vandana. If I don't do this, then I will incur sin. With this understanding, if I am doing, it is a covering of bhakti. Now, let me make this example more clear. Arjuna, according to Varnashram, he is a Kshatriya. And as per Kshatriya Dharma, he has to take part in a religious fight. But Arjuna declined to fight. That is in the first chapter of the Gita, the reasons are given. One of the reasons is that I will incur killing my own relatives, sin, I'll incur sin. So, based on his Varnashram Dharma, please mark my words, based on his Varnashram Dharma, he is duty bound to fight, but he was not ready to execute that karma because of the fear of sin, that I'll incur sinful reactions. So, his uh, understanding that if I fight, I will incur sin, actually, by not fighting, he would be incurring sin based on the Varnashram perspective. But later on, Krishna enlightened Arjuna. And Krishna at last said what? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami ma sucha. So, sarva dharman parityajya means give up all other duties. Give up your varnashram duty. Sarva dharma. Varnashram dharma you give up. You give up sannyas dharma. You give up ashtanga yoga dharma. Jnana dharma. All other dharmas. And you follow the dharma of what? Mam ekam sharanam raja. That is pure devotional service. So, based on this understanding that you are a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and the soul's dharma. The soul's dharma is to love and serve the Lord. This is bhakti, pure devotional service. So, based on this understanding, you now execute your duty. And you will not incur any sin. That's what Krishna says. So, this is the higher understanding which Krishna is giving later on in the end of the Gita. So, now if Arjuna, with this understanding, if he decides, oh, my designation is that of a Kshatriya, and if I don't do this karma of fighting, I might incur sin. That's why let me do it. Now he's situated in the swadharma of the soul, that is pure devotional service. But based on his nature as a Kshatriya, if he decides, if he thinks, oh, this is part of my duty that I have to take part in religious battle, and if I don't perform it, then I'll incur sin, then it will be a covering of bhakti. It will be a covering of bhakti. Also, if one performs them with the faith that it will produce bhakti, it is also a covering. Now, let us understand this statement. Now, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. Again, coming back to the example of Arjuna. His swabhav is part of his nature, the subtle body nature, his swabhav. Based on his swabhav, he is inclined, mode of passion, he is inclined to, fight. That is his spirit. That is the nature what he has acquired. Of course, he is transcendental, but in the Leela, he is a Kshatriya. So this is his swabhav. Based on that swabhav, there is a swa karma. Swa karma means you are inclined to that kind of karma. And then there is a swadharma. Now this swadharma is based on the subtle body nature. And that swadharma is the varnashram dharma. Like the Brahmana is situated in goodness. So that's why he's inclined towards intellectual work. Patan, patan, yajan, yajan. And there is dharma given him for him. Based on his swabhav, there is a swadharma, brahmanical dharma, and swakarma. Karma is in that he has to do yagyas. Kshatriya, Arjuna, his swabhav is that of a Kshatriya, passion. He likes to do management, control the kingdom. So there is a swa karma. He is inclined to that kind of karma. And then there is a swadharma. The varnashram Kshatriya dharma is there. Somebody is by nature in the mode of passion and ignorance. He is a Vaishya by nature. So that's his swabhav. And because he is Vaishya by nature, there is a swabhav, there is a swa karma. He is inclined to do business activities. And because he is inclined to do business activities, there is the swadharma given in the varnashram. Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam. So you do Goraksha, business with respect to protecting the cows and selling cow products, or banking, Vanijyam. So these are sabhavas or karmas based on one's nature. Based on one's nature. And there is the sabhav of the soul. That is to love and serve the Supreme Soul. This is pure devotional service. So these are the two things which we have to clearly understand. Now, if one performs with faith, what? That it will produce bhakti. It is also covering. So if one performs Kshatriya dharma, that is the swabhav of the Kshatriya, and he thinks that this activity will produce bhakti. Will produce bhakti. Because bhakti is completely spiritual. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya, which is mentioned. Bhakti is the activity of the soul. So you are engaging in your nature based on the subtle body and not the nature of the soul. You are performing these duties based on your subtle body, and you think that this punya activity will produce bhakti. Will produce bhakti. Then it is jnana avrat. It is jnana avrat. It is jnana avrat. Because bhakti is completely spiritual. No material activity can produce bhakti. Bhakti is completely spiritual. So that is why these two types of conceptions, if we have, then there is avaran happening. I hope it is clear. And if you have any questions here, I will take up. And then I will go to some examples more to understand. Okay, there is one more point. But if a great devotee performs Shraddha just to teach common people without faith in their absolute nature, it is not avrat. So like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed the Shraddha ceremony. And he performed it because Shraddha ceremony is to be performed based on the Varnashram Dharma. He performed the Shraddha ceremony so that people just to teach the common people. And he did not have that, if I perform this Shraddha ceremony, then it will lead to devotion. No. He performed it without faith on their absolute results, just to teach the common people. So his actions are what? Karma anavrat. Anavrat they are. So that will not cover his bhakti. That will not cover his bhakti. Any questions on this? Any questions or clarifications on this? 1, 2. Okay. Birendra Yadav Prabhuji? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you referred this Bhagavad Gita verses chapter 13, 8 to 12 verses, 20 elements of knowledge. Prabhu, this in this verses there is one verse which deals pure devotion. Mai channi yogena bhakti chapya vicharani. Prabhu, I just wanted to know these 20 elements of knowledge. It is related with pure devotion, or it is related with I mean Gyan Anavritam, what we are saying. That I mean, is it referring to that Gyana which should be we should not practice?
Okay. In the 13th chapter, I'm just showing you the verses. In the 13th chapter, beginning from amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shanti, rajanam, acharya, upasanam, saucham, stairyam, atma vinigraham, indriyarteshu, vairagyam, anankarevacha, janma mrityu, jaravadi, dukkha doshanudarshanam. So the Gyanis see that there is these 3-4 faults, and that's why they want to become free and become liberated. Asaktir, no attachment to wife, children and house. And there is this Mai Chanani Yogena Bhakti Avyabhicharani. Now, out of these 20 elements, there is one element, Mai Chanani Yogena Bhakti Avyabhicharani. Now, this Bhakti, what they practice also, there is out of these 20 elements, there is one element Bhakti. The Gyanis also have to practice devotion, Bhakti. But it is one element among the 20 they practice. They have to practice all 20. This is first thing to be understood. And there is Adhyayana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. Tattva Jnana is the Sankhya Yoga here. Okay. So all these 20 elements they have to practice. And Bhakti is one element. But what kind of Bhakti has been referred? Please, you see the term what Krishna is using, Avyabhicharini. And this term Avyabhicharini has come twice in the last 6 chapters. It has come here in this 13th chapter, and it has come in the last verse, 14.26. Mamcho yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevite sagunan samite etan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Avyabhicharini without fail. So this bhakti what they practice is not Shuddha Bhakti. It is Mishra Bhakti. Bhakti is there one element among the 20 elements. 19 are Gyan elements which they practice. Gyan sadhana, that is. Bhakti element, because they are practicing this one Bhakti element, that Bhakti element, that Bhakti Devi which is residing in their Gyan sadhana, because they are practicing this one Bhakti element, that actually gives them the fruit of their Gyan, is liberation. It is Bhakti Devi which gives them liberation. So this Bhakti is not Ananya Bhakti, it is Vyabhicharena Bhakti. So what does this mean? There is Ahetuki Bhakti and there is Avyabhicharena Bhakti. Ahetuki Bhakti means there is no Hetu. But Avyabhicharena means there is Hetu. The Gyanis want to get out of the cycle of birth and death. But they are so determined in their Gyan sadhana, without any break or without fail, they practice this very strenuously in order to get out of the cycle of birth and death. That is why it is called as without fail, or it is called as, here in this verse, Prabhupada translates it as what? Without any break. They practice continuously the sadhana so that they can get out of the cycle of birth and death. There is Hetu. That is why if you see in the Bhagavatam verse, it is mentioned Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janeti Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Tad Ahetukam. Oh, sorry, not first chapter, second chapter. Jnanam Tad Ahetukam. So, Jnanam Tad Ahetukam. This knowledge regarding Vasudev, because of devotion, devotional Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan, it automatically produces Vairagya and knowledge. This knowledge is not having any hetu. That is why this is Jnana Anavritam. Because it is Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan. It is Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan. So there is no hetu. Whereas the Jnanis cultivate Gyan knowledge, there is a hetu. They have a hetu to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So that is why in this verse it is mentioned Jnanam Chad Ahetukam. This Gyan refers to Bhakti Sambandhit Gyan, that there is no hetu, and that is why this is Jnana Anavritam. Whereas the Jnana is impersonal cultivation of knowledge, there is a hetu, there is why that is Mishra Bhakti, because there is Jnana Avrit. Jnana is becoming Avrit. The Tatastha Lakshan they are not able to. So there is, that is why it comes under Mishra Bhakti. It doesn't come under Shuddha Bhakti category. I hope it is clear.
Yes, bro. Thank you, bro. And Prabhupada in this purport of these slokas, Prabhupada says, if one perform pure devotional services, then these qualities becomes byproduct of byproduct for a devotee. This is what Prabhupada says.
Prabhupada and both Krishna Chakra Thakur in these commentaries, they are giving from the Bhakti perspective, not from the Jnani's perspective, that if one practices pure devotional service, he need not cultivate all these other items of knowledge. The Jnanis, as a sadhana, they have to cultivate humility, amanitvam. But we as devotees, if we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, ultimately when we come to the stage of Namabhas, then automatically we will realize that the holy name is not different from the Lord, and all these qualities, divine qualities, will manifest. Yasyasti Bhagavati, Yasyasti Yasyasti Bhagavati Akinchana is there, na? Yasyasti. Yeah, I think that verse only Prabhupada quotes there. Let me see. Prabhupada quotes that verse there. No, it's not there. Yeah. Yes. I told you. Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana. Sarver Gunes Tatra Samasate Shura. So, Prabhupada is quoting this. If one practices Akinchana Bhakti, is Bhakti, or Kevala Bhakti, or Nirguna Bhakti, or Shuddha Bhakti. So there, they are from a devotional perspective explaining that purport. Whereas the Jnanis have to cultivate all the items of knowledge, all the 20 items of knowledge. They have to cultivate all the 20 items of knowledge. Whereas if a devotee only cultivates Ananya Bhakti, and all these, all these other qualities automatically develop in him. So it requires very scrutiny study of the Bhagavad Gita to understand subtle differences, and then we can understand. Like, if you carefully study the purport, this verse is saying that one should be what? If you see, Saktir. Yeah, without being attached, Saktir, Ana Abhi Swanga, without association, putra, dhara, grahadishu. That means a jnani has to leave home and go to the Himalayas to practice Gyan Sadhana. So Prabhupada now from the Bhakti perspective, he explains the same purport that one can stay in the family and do four things, he says. As for attachment for children, it is not that one should have no feeling. They are natural objects. But if they are not favorable, then one should not be attached. Now he says, one should chant Hare Krishna, offer foodstuffs, discuss Bhagavad Gita, and engage in deity worship. Four things. So, and there is in this verse, if you see, there is Viveka Desha Sevikvam. Saying in a secluded place. This is solitary place. And Prabhupada mentions solitary place as staying in the temple, in the association of devotees. So they are giving a devotional perspective purport to these verses. So we have to understand that. And that requires a careful study of Gita, and then we can understand it. Is it clear?
Yes, Ruth. Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you very much.
Any other questions anyone had? There were other hands which were raised. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, Makarand Bakshi has raised his hand. Yeah. Yes.
Prabhuji, what I understood from the examples quoted by you, in the sense in the slides, is that whatever karma kanda we might have to perform. Of
No,
course, for
1 minute. You use the word karma kand, we have to perform.
karma kanda, not technically karma kanda. For I wanted to quote Shraddha actually. So even the Shraddha also has to be looked upon at the material level only. We should not think that it will give me faith in bhakti. If one has to perform a Shraddha, then that also has to be done from the material perspective only, or as a duty.
So I'll give you an example to understand. If devotees are performing Shraddha, the Shraddha ceremony. Now, I'll just put you on mute. Now, firstly, you have to understand that if you are practicing Shuddha Bhakti, we will come to this topic quite elaborately in the next class to understand whether we are practicing Shuddha Bhakti first. If you are practicing Shuddha Bhakti, then there is no need to perform the Shraddha ceremony because you are on the transcendental position. Nothing will affect you. But because we are not practicing Shuddha Bhakti, we are conditioned by our nature. And that's why it is important that we execute this activity. Now, for many reasons. One is because we are not practicing Shuddha Bhakti. That is first reason. Secondly, if we don't do this, then our family members and relatives, they will become disturbed. How is this? This is an important, injunction of the Vedas that you should perform Shraddha ceremony, and why is he not performing? He'll become disturbed. They will become disturbed. And while performing the Shraddha ceremony, now this Shraddha ceremony is based on our connection with this body and the connection we have. This has nothing to do with the soul. The soul's pure dharma of pure devotional service. Now, this Shraddha ceremony, while performing, if you have a conception that this karma, what I'm doing, this karma will produce bhakti. This karma will produce bhakti, then with this conception, if you're doing that act, then there is karma avaran. There is karma avaran. And if you're doing this uh, uh, activity of the Shraddha karma, but that, oh, if I don't do this, I will incur sin. And I do that activity. Then again, it is karma avaran. But I do this Shraddha ceremony, and while doing this Shraddha ceremony, I do it as a matter of duty, having no faith in the absolute nature of it, but just to not disturb my relatives, I just do this. Then my devotion doesn't get covered. It doesn't get covered. There is a karma avaran is not happening if I don't put my faith in it. That is why in the Gita, the 17th chapter, last verse, Krishna says that ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asad iti uchyate partha na cha tat preta no iha. Anything done as sacrifice, charity, penance without faith in the Supreme, Hosana part, it is impermanent, it is called asad, and it is useless both in this life and next. So if you don't have, faith in it, you don't put faith in it, you just do it as a duty in order not to disturb others, then there is no avaran happening. There is no avaran happening, so that it becomes karma navritam. Now, again, another higher perspective is there, which I'm going to give examples now, which will become still more clear. I do this Shraddha ceremony because, say, my father had left the world, father was a devotee, and I do with a Vaishnava vidhi of offering the pinda to Vishnu, and then offering a remnants to the forefathers. So then it is a devotional act. It is a devotional act. So when we do this devotional act, then that action is not getting covered. It is not getting covered. So then also it is karma anavritam. I will further explain this with these examples which are going to come up here now. Were you able to follow this or no? First, let me find out from Makaran Bakshi. Were you able to follow this? Makaran Prabhuji, what we discussed?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. It was very much clear, Prabhuji.
Okay. Madan Deshpande has a question. Yes.
I wanted to know, Bhakti performed with faith also is avrit. I just wanted some explanation on this.
Bhakti performed?
With faith is also covered Bhakti.
No. Bhakti performed with faith. Faith is required to perform Bhakti. While performing that activities, there is no avaran.
Okay.
I'll give you one example, like to make it still more clear. Suppose before coming to Krishna consciousness, having the knowledge that Krishna is supreme and devotional service is the way to attain him, and we take up to devotional service. Before doing that, we were, attached to our devatas. In our family, these family deities are there, and these are devatas, and we were worshipping them. We were worshipping them. So this is before coming to Krishna consciousness. Now, this is very fine understanding. Please hear carefully. Now I have taken up to Krishna consciousness. I am practicing bhakti. I am hearing and chanting, following the four regulative principles, reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. I understand now who are devatas. The devatas are ultimately the administrative demigods. They are jivas on behalf of Krishna. Ultimately, Krishna is supreme. So I should, worship Krishna and need not worship the devata separately. I need not. If I am able to completely, give up now, even this worship of the devatas, if I'm able to completely give up, not only worship, maybe the yearly program is there where all the family members come and we have this program, or some yagya is there with respect to the devta. I can completely give up and exclusively perform pure devotional service, then it is okay. But I still feel an obligation that I should, uh, uh, perform these activities. Now, if I perform those activities with the conception that these activities will produce bhakti, then it is karma avrit. And if I have a conception that if I don't perform this previously, whatever I was doing, those activities, then I will incur sin and that might let me do it. Then also it is karma avrit. But now I go to the Devta temple, whichever family deity I have, I visit them. Now I can visit them with you know many purposes, but one purpose I can visit is ultimately I can worship, I can pray to that Devta so that I can come closer to Krishna. Now, because I'm in spiritual life, so that is the purpose. Then it is not karma avrit. Although you are going to the demigod temple to have darshan, it will not cover your devotion. And I go and participate in that program because others should not get disturbed, but with the conception not having any faith in that absolute nature of those activities, then also my bhakti is not covered. Then also karma anavrit happens. Whereas any other conception, if you have, then there is avran happening. So once one devotee told me that, oh, Prabhuji, in my house, Ganpati festival is there, so please come. So I said, why? You are worshipping Krishna, why you have to worship Ganpati? There is no need. If you are worshipping Krishna, it's sufficient. Yata taror mula nisechana, I said. Then he said, no, Prabhuji, before I was coming to Krishna consciousness, I was worshipping Ganpati. Now, also I am following that same thing. Every year I get Ganpati. But what is the reason? If I don't get, then I might incur sin. Ganpati will become upset with me and I might face some troubles in my spiritual life. So that's why I am doing that. Every year I am getting Ganpati. So his conception is that if I don't perform that act, then I will incur sin. So then there is avran happening. So this is a little subtle thing. So we have to understand it. I hope it is clear, Prabhuji.
Yes, it is clear, Prabhu.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Now, let's do this exercise. Please raise your hands. Carefully hear the question and then raise your hands. Then raise your hands. A Brahmana performing his duties according to Varnashram, thinking that these duties are actually bhakti. This Brahmana, he identifies himself as Brahmana. That this identity of a Brahmana is not the identity of the soul, that I am spirit, soul, part and parcel Krishna. But I am based on my Swabhava. I'm Brahmanical I'm intellectual by nature. And he is having his Brahmanas dharmas, Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, based on the Varnashram. And he's thinking that these activities, what he's doing, they're actually bhakti. Is it karma avrit or anavrit? Who will answer? Raise your hands. Is it karma avrit or anavrit? Okay, I want to see all of them who have raised their hands and then I will ask. Okay, there are, please keep your hands raised. I want to see who all have raised their hands. 1 minute, let me Oh, so many have raised their hands. Okay, I will select first Radha Rohini Priya Mataji. Yes, Mataji. What is it? Karma Avrit or Anavrit?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. It is karma avrit Prabhuji, because he is performing that karma based upon his bodily consciousness as a Brahmana.
Okay. But with the understanding what? That this karma will produce bhakti. Correct? This karma is bhakti. Correct?
No,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
No, this karma is bhakti. He has a conception that this karma, will produce bhakti.
He has that conception.
That conception is very important. Please remember. Okay. Yes. So this is the correct answer. Karma Avrit. Now he's a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is performing Varnashram duties. A Vaishnava is a pure devotee. He is, performing his Varnashram duties also based on his nature, just to set an example for the society along with his devotional activities. So he is, suppose one who was in the Varnashram is a Brahmana and he's been doing yagyas and all. And now he has come in touch with devotional service. And now he's become a Vaishnava. He's taken up to chanting. He's following all the regulative principles. Now, because he was previously doing Brahminical activities, somebody calls him for his home for yagya. So now he's doing his Brahminical activities based on his svabhava. Now, those activities, what he's doing, whether they are karma avrit or anavrit, who will answer now this? 2 participants, 3, 4, okay. Becomes difficult to select. I want to select, yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It's karma avrit because he has intention to set an example. It's a karma mishrit bhakti.
Come again, what did you say?
It's karma avrit because he want to set an example to the society. There is an intention of setting an example to the society, not pleasing Lord Krishna. So that intention is very at bodily level.
Radha Jeevan Prabhuji. 1 minute, I'll unmute you. Radha Jeevan Prabhuji, you have to say something.
Hare Krishna, Vadandatam. Prabhu, this activity is anavritam.
Karma anavrita. Why?
Because it's for the society only, is not thinking that it is make any bhakti. For the society purpose is doing, but his not intention is not to doing for bhakti.
Your answer is correct, but the reasoning, I want still more clear understanding of the reasoning. It's Reena Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. He is doing to please Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, not to please Devi Devatas. So he is doing these activities.
So first you tell me whether it is karma avrit or anavrit.
Anavritam. It is Prabhuji is बताया, it's anavritam. Yes. And he is doing activities to please Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu.
Hold on. Karma anavrita. Now these Brahminical activities of Patan, Yajan, or the Yagya activities. These Yagya activities are activities based on the Brahminical duties, based on Varnashram. Now these activities, what is doing, these, why do you say, his bhakti is not getting covered? What is the reason?
Because he जो यज्ञ भाग जो मतलब भगवान वो देना है उनको भगवान विष्णु को ही देना है. His intention is to
How do you
the
know
यज्ञ
that
भाग
all
जो
that Bhagwan Vishnu, don't go into that. Why his activities are karma anavrit? That is my question. Why his activities you think are karma anavrit?
Because he's not doing the karma. His intention is not to get the material. मतलब इंद्रिय शक्ति भौतिक आसक्ति उनको नहीं चाहिए. He wants only to please Lord Krishna, and he can go in spiritual path.
Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, it is karma anavritam. Why? Because he's just doing these duties just to set an example. He's not having any faith in them, and he's not having this intention also that it will produce bhakti or it will add in bhakti.
Yes. So there are twofold reasons. While doing that karma of a brahmana, of the yajna, he doesn't have absolute faith in their nature that this action is producing bhakti. If he has that conception, then it will become avrit. Because he doesn't have that, and secondly, he is doing it so that others, to set an example that others who are not practicing bhakti, they should do these activities of yajna, otherwise they will not become punya. They will not lead a pious life. So teach the common people, he is just doing it. And ultimately, because now he has taken up to Vaishnavism, he will preach that in that forum Vaishnavism and slowly connect them to Krishna consciousness. So with that higher purpose he's doing. So that is why, although he is doing actions, karma, based on his varnashram, based on his swabhava, based on his subtle body nature, still those activities will not cover his pure devotion. That's why it is karma navrat. Karma navrat. Okay. A king like Prithu or Parikshit performing elaborate sacrifices, karma kanda. This is, sacrifices for the devatas, fearing that if he does not perform these duties, then he will incur sin. Now the king, Prithu or Parikshit, these are all pure devotees. Parikshit is Ananya Bhakta. Prithu is again an incarnation of the Lord only. He is a pure devotee. They are doing what? Karma kanda yajnas for devatas. These pure devotees are doing yajnas for the devatas. But with the conception that, fearing that if he does not perform this, then he will incur sin. So that's why he performs. So is it karma avrit or anavrit? Who will answer this? Two hands have been raised. Yes, Madan Deshpande Prabhuji. 1 minute, I'll unmute too. Yeah.
It is Avrit Prabhuji because the conception is important.
It is karma avrit. What is the avaran? What is the conception? Conception here means the knowledge. What is that conception the king is having?
He says he will commit sin, no Prabhuji, if he doesn't do this.
Yes. Excellent answer. Karma avrit. Because his conception that if I don't do this karma kanda yajna, I will incur sin. A king like Prithu or Parikshit performing elaborate sacrifices, karma kand, to lead the praja towards dharma and not having absolute faith in them. In the nature of these results of karma kanda. So, here, what is it? Makarand Bakshi Prabhuji, yes.
Prabhuji, it is anavrutam.
It is anavrit. Why?
Because his purpose is to lead the praja to dharma.
That is first. Then second, any other reason?
He is not doing with the conception that it will lead to bhakti or increase.
Have any faith in the absolute nature of the results?
Correct.
The faith is very important. If he
Yes.
put his faith in it, then it will have different results. Okay. Karma navrit it is. Okay. Now, hear this. A king like Prithu or Parikshit performing elaborate sacrifices karmakanda with the knowledge that the demigods are the limbs of Vishnu. While doing that karmakanda, Devta worship Indra, Swaha, no, he's offering the oblations, and he has that conception that ultimately, I am offering this to Indra. Indra is a limb of Vishnu. So directly, I'm offering it to Vishnu. So whether there is karma avran or anavrit, it is karma avrit or anavrit. Who will answer this? Who will answer this? Anyone else? Who else will answer this? 1, 2 hands are raised. Okay. 3. First, let us give a chance to Reena Mataji. She has first raised hand. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandapana. It's the karma anavritam because he is considering that's the limbs of Lord Vishnu. Devatas are limbs of Lord Vishnu. So
His conception is that the Devatas are the limbs of Vishnu. Correct.
So that is anavrit.
Is karma anavrit. Now, the difference between 4 and 5. What is the difference between 4 and 5 here? Both are karma anavrit, but what is the difference between the two? Who will answer this? Yes, Madan Deshpande Prabhuji. Yes. I have unmuted you. Yeah, unmuted you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. One is with knowledge and one is with faith, Prabhuji.
One is with knowledge, one is with faith. No, both there is knowledge.
Yes.
Not having faith in the absolute nature. And here there is also knowledge that the demigods are limb of Vishnu. But yeah, I want something further understanding. Makaran Bakshi Prabhuji, yes.
Prabhuji, fourth is that he's performing his Varnashram Dharma. As a Kshatriya, as a king, he wants to lead the entire Praja towards Dharma. Whereas fifth is at his personal level.
No.
Realization.
No. Yes, your word, what you use is realization. But both these 4 and 5 are both done to lead the Praja. The same karma kanda actions are being done to lead the Praja. He need not do karma kanda because he is Ananya Bhakta, he is a pure devotee. Both are done to lead the Praja. But there are again 2 different levels in that. I want to know what are the 2 levels in that. At one level, you can be doing it, just not having faith in their nature. This is a neutral position. This is like a neutral position. Not having faith in the absolute nature, just to lead the Praja towards path of dharma. You are performing this
Concentrating once.
Yourselves. But at the second level, the level of consciousness is very high. Here he is neutral to all those actions because he is not having faith. But here, while doing those actions of doing yajna, those actions itself are devotional service. Those actions itself are devotional service because while offering the oblations, he's seeing, that Om Indraya Swaha, when he's doing the oblations to Indra, he's seeing Indra as the limb of Vishnu. So his actions itself are what? Devotional actions, bhakti. Whereas when you are neutral, you are not doing any action. Means you are doing action, but you are neutral. You are not having faith in it. So you are just participating in it. So that doesn't cover your bhakti, but that is not also bhakti action, which will lead to more bhakti. Whereas in fifth, it is at a higher level of consciousness. It's a devotional action. which is, actually devotional service performed. Are you getting this point? Yes or no? This is the difference. Yes, Madan Deshpande, Prabhuji, you have a question?
No, Prabhuji, I got it. This is only the difference of level of consciousness, Prabhuji, correct?
Yes. One
Okay,
he takes a neutral stand,
Yes.
and then other is a positive action of devotion only itself
Correct.
while performing. Okay, so it's exactly 8:30 now, so I will stop here and we will wind up. And we have almost finished the discussion, but there are some other finer points which I will discuss in the next class. And then we will come to this very important topic about, are we practicing Ananya Bhakti? So that we will take up in the next week. So I will now stop and wind up for the day. Shri Bhakti Tattva Vivek ki jai.